What's going on, y'all? It's your boy TJ back with another video. Today's video, I'll be talking about if the rehydration clause is causing fighters to lose in their fights. Like I always say, y'all, without further ado, I'm gonna just jump right into this one, y'all. So, are fighters losing because of the rehydration clause? Okay, now, first off, I'm going to start by saying this. For those of y'all who do not know what the rehydration clause is, a rehydration clause is this. A boxer has a rehydration clause put in place to set a limit on how much a boxer can put back on after the weigh-in. Okay? Now, a boxer can quickly lose pounds through sweating just to make the weight. Okay, so in theory, one or both the fighters could make the weigh-in and then pile on pounds to gain a huge advantage over his or her opponent. Okay, so a rehydration clause stops one or both the fighters from making themselves a lot heavier and potentially putting their opponent in danger, should I say. So, pretty much, okay, the rehydration clause stops fighters from gaining a big, huge advantage over each other. Okay, now I can see why most fighters would put this in contracts. Okay, so that way the fight is evenly matched as possible and is fair for both parties. Okay, that I can definitely understand. Okay, now the only problem I would have as a boxer as far as the rehydration clause goes is just maybe getting my body adjusted to what needs to happen to prepare for the rehydration clause, getting my body used to the certain dieting plan so that, I'd be ready and prepared for the fight and perform at the highest level that I can so I can win the fight. Okay, that's really the only, thing that I'd probably have a problem with. Okay, but the thing is too as well, okay, I believe that any fighter that signs a contract, okay, with the rehydration clause in it, has more than enough time to prepare themselves for what is to come. Okay, so I'm pretty sure, like I said, there's certain dieting plans that you can go on. If there's a thing where you need to kind of fake it till you make it in a way, and weeks before the fight, kind of drop and lose weight and start, sparring a little bit just so your body gets used to being in that, that habit of the rehydration clause, then you'd have to do that. Okay, but I don't think this is, really a cause, in my opinion, of the reason why fighters are losing. Okay, because let's be real, y'all. Okay, these are all professional athletes. Okay, they made it for the best of the best and fight the best of the best. Okay, for a reason. They made it for a reason. Okay, so I feel that at this point in time, a lot of these guys should be mature enough to handle certain things like this. Okay, now, I mean, a few of these guys, my favorite fighters, have had the rehydration clause in their contracts. Sadly, they lost their fights. Okay, now, okay, Mario Barrios actually came out and said this, okay? I had a rehydration clause, just never cared to use it as an excuse because I agreed to the contracts. Okay, now, mind you, Mario Barrios had the rehydration clause when he fought Gervonta Davis. Okay, and he lost. All right, but like he said, he's not going to use it as an excuse because he did agree to that contract. Okay, it is what it is. All right, you lost. All right, in my opinion, I feel that Mario Barrios is a great enough fighter where he could have definitely, prepared himself for that certain fight if he felt like, the rehydration clause was going to be a problem, or he could have just not taken the fight altogether. Okay. So, it is what it is. Now, Bernard Hopkins actually came out and spoke on Ryan Garcia's behalf, okay, with his fight against Gervonta Davis as well, okay. Bernard Hopkins says this. Bernard Hopkins says, Ryan Garcia lost to Gervonta Davis wasn't the result of the 10-pound rehydration clause that the PBC managed fighter had in his contract for their fight last Saturday. Okay. He also said, I don't think it affected Ryan Garcia to the point where he couldn't perform the way he did, said Bernard Hopkins. On whether Ryan Garcia's 7th round knockout loss to Gervonta Davis was a result of the 10-pound rehydration clause in the contract for the fighter last Saturday. I don't think it affected him where he looked like a skeleton on the scale. I thought Ryan looked great. His skin still had moisture when I watched him. I just think he got caught with a shot that he didn't see on the side of the liver or rib that was already bruised and breached. Okay, so I don't know if you guys had watched my other video from before where, Ryan Garcia called out, the mole in his camp and, where, he thought, his sparring partner was giving Tank's camp some tips on how to prepare himself better for the fight and beat him. His body was already bruised going into that fight. So, really, Bernard Hopkins really feels that, he could have prepared himself a little bit more as well. And, he feels that the rehydration clause also had absolutely nothing to do with that. Okay. So, sadly, going into that fight for Ryan Garcia, he was already bruised and banged up. Okay. But he didn't want to use that as an excuse either. Okay. Actually, I had seen that Conor McGregor chimed in and gave Ryan Garcia some, inspiring words on how he definitely wanted to see these two fight again, okay, with no rehydration clause. Okay, so I'm starting to think in my mind that Conor McGregor thinks that if there was no rehydration clause, Ryan Garcia might have had a better chance at beating Gervonta Davis. Okay, now, also, as we all saw, he did lose to him. Okay, Mario Barrios lost to him, and so did Ryan Garcia. So, like I said, thing is, if these fighters are signing these contracts for this rehydration clause, they just need to take some more time and really prepare themselves physically and mentally for the fight. Okay? Because once you sign on that dotted line, That's it. Okay. Also, Chris Eubanks Sr. actually wants to pull Chris Eubanks Jr. from an upcoming fight because of the rehydration clause. Okay. I actually was reading this article and it says that for the fight, Chris Eubanks Jr. is set to drop down to 157 pounds so that he can take on Ben and reignite the rivalry that started with their fathers all those years ago. He has never fought at that weight and usually weighs in at around 160 pounds. Okay. However, the 32-year-old had been told he would only be allowed to put on 5 pounds between the weigh-in and the fight night. Okay, so the maximum he could put on is 162 pounds. Okay, this was a lot less than what he would usually weigh in at, which had worried his dad. Okay, but it's not actually the clause that Chris Eubanks Sr. is concerned about, but it is the small amounts of weight his son is going to be allowed to put back on. Most modern fighters have rehydration clauses, and they are usually set at 10 to 15 pounds, 10 to 15 pound mark. Okay, so 5 pounds is very little, and could give Ben an unfair advantage in what is sure to, be more of an advantage to Ben in that fight, should I say. Okay, so there's that, and I can definitely understand why his pops will want to probably pull him out of that fight because of that certain situation. Now, in Chris Eubanks' defense, Chris Eubanks Sr.'s defense, he could probably go to them and probably renegotiate the contract to where, the limit can be 10 to 15 pounds. So that, both sides are very evenly matched and have the most fair advantage possible for both parties, like I had said earlier. So, I mean, I don't really see the issue in the rehydration clause. I really think it's just a thing where, like I said, these guys just really have to get used to the dieting habits and really just preparing themselves mentally for what's going to happen, because having to be able to gain the weight or drop it and then gain it back for a little while and only be able to have that small amount of wiggle room where you're allowed to gain a certain amount of pounds, 5 to 10 to 15 pounds. It can be a lot. Okay, because now, like I said, your dieting habits are going to change, and it's going to affect your body in some way, shape, or form. Okay, and then not to mention your mental. You have to be able to go in there and perform at your highest level regardless of the dieting plan that you in your training camp chose to stick with. Okay, so like I said, I don't think the rehydration clause is really the reason why these fighters are losing their fights or being even pulled from their fights. Okay, so that's my take on it. Okay, that's all I got for today, y'all. Okay, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I will catch y'all next time. All right, peace.